billion years ago, the first life forms appeared on Earth. They've engaged in a battle for survival ever since, combating new predators, environmental catastrophes, and mega disasters. While many were able to adapt, most species fail and are erased from existence. Planet Earth has faced 5 such extinctions.
When we look at the history of life, we see that there are many, many extinction events throughout the last 4.5 billion years, that is, throughout the history of the Earth. The one with the dinosaurs at 65.5 million years ago was a big extinction, but that wasn't even the biggest. There have been many that have been far worse. Every once in a while, there's some really, really major events, what we call mass extinctions, where we lose lots of different species of many different ecological types. Plants, animals, predators, herbivores, sea animals, land animals.
Extinction is the normal outcome of evolution. The fact of the matter is over 99% of all the organisms that have ever lived are extinct. So it isn't unusual to become extinct, it's actually normal. But there are certain periods in which there's more extinction than usual. We call these mass extinctions.
Mass extinctions can occur over an extended period, or they can happen in the blink of an eye.
These mass extinction events can be seen in the fossil record. You'll find the fossil remains of thousands of life forms in one layer of dirt, and then none of those same plants and animals in the layer directly above. So what that tells us is something caused a lot of things to die between this time and that. Sometimes the distance between those layers of rocks can represent millions of years, and other times they can be months, weeks, or even days.
$250 million years ago, one group of beasts would rise above all others and claim the world as their own. It was the Mesozoic era, and the dinosaurs reigned supreme. And before they were ultimately wiped out, they would evolve to become the fastest, smartest, and most successful animals on Earth.
There are 2 reasons why dinosaurs took over the planet. The first was their larger than average brains. Now compared to you and I, they're not that smart. But in their time, they were the most intelligent creatures on Earth. But the main reason why they were so successful was because of the design of their hips and legs. The reptiles and mammals of their time had legs that stuck out to the side of their body. This meant that running was a bit more difficult because the entire body waddles from side to side. But the dinosaurs carry their legs directly beneath their body like we do. And this meant that they could run much faster and a lot more efficiently than anything else. So being faster and having the ability to run longer is what gave them a competitive edge that no other creatures could match.
With their superior leg design and large brains, dinosaurs expanded their mastery to cover every continent on Earth and evolved an amazing array of body designs. Giant, long-necked sauropods were able to browse at treetop levels, while other plant-eating dinosaurs were perfectly adapted to take advantage of the low-growing vegetation.
When you look at Stegosaurus and Camarasaurus, you'd be hard-pressed to find 2 dinosaurs with such different feeding habits. Camarasaurus feeds high in the trees, whereas Stegosaurus was a low browser. Since both of these dinosaurs went extinct at the end of the Jurassic, then it's safe to suggest that all plants, from the tallest trees to the lowest shrubs, were affected by some sort of environmental change. And if the plants were changing, this would have a huge impact on the plant eaters who relied on them for life.
The late Jurassic period also saw apex predators all over the globe, from Denver, Colorado to Beijing, China. Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus were the deadliest.
Ceratosaurus was more of a niche predator. It certainly would have had to have been specialized on a certain type of behavior with feeding. It may have fed solely on sauropods, it may have fished, it may have gone after smaller prey.
Big animals like Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus are the first to suffer during a dramatic climate change. Because of their sheer size, they require a certain amount of food and a certain amount of water.
But just as the dinosaurs were beginning their ascent, a massive explosion in deep space would start a countdown to Armageddon. Two giant asteroids collided. The larger of the two was named Baptistina.
We think it was probably on the order of about 170 kilometers across. And then something very large slammed into it, we think about 160 million years ago. The size of the impactor isn't quite known. We think it might be on the order of about 60 kilometers or so. And that completely pulverized what we call the Baptistina parent body.
With one asteroid 105 miles in diameter and the other the size of Rhode Island, the impact between these two celestial missiles caused Baptistina to break up, shooting fragments out of orbit and into the solar system. Most of these fragments ended up floating harmlessly in space, but a few headed toward a collision with Earth. This massive asteroid strike would ultimately wipe out the dinosaurs for good. But strangely, this cataclysm from space was not the first massive disaster that the dinosaurs faced. 100 million years earlier, the dinosaurs suffered another less complete extinction. This first extinction came towards the end of the Jurassic period. It is estimated that 25% of all life forms were wiped off the planet. So what caused this first extinction?
When the environment changed at the end of the late Jurassic, it really caused problems for the bigger dinosaurs. Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus could simply be victims of their inability to adapt to this new environment.
Today, it's still a mystery. Some believe that they may have been the victims of their own success.
They seem to have been driven to extinction by their own success. That sounds strange, but once you think about it, a successful dinosaur is one that produces descendants. And in the next time period, the early Cretaceous, there are new allosaurs and new ceratosaurs in different parts of the world. More sophisticated descendants of each of these forms. Things that were too sophisticated for the original Ceratosaurus and the original Allosaurus to compete against. So as old-fashioned Ceratosaurus and old-fashioned Allosaurus themselves, they both disappeared.
But few realize that in every major extinction, no matter how catastrophic, there are always survivors. And for those plants and animals that are able to adapt quickly enough, the world is theirs for the taking.
It's easy to think that all dinosaurs lived and died at the same time, but that's not the case. For instance, dinosaurs like Stegosaurus, Allosaurus, and Camarasaurus lived in the Jurassic period and died out tens of millions of years before dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus Rex showed up. In fact, the time that separates those dinosaurs from T-Rex is longer than the amount of time that separates T-Rex from us.
The thing about extinction events is that, of course, they're very bad for the animals that go extinct, but they open up a door of opportunity for a lot of other animals and plants. And basically, once certain species disappear, then other species will evolve and change and take over their place in that particular ecosystem or habitat.
Ultimately, it would be the giant asteroid that would end the reign of the dinosaurs. But that deadly space missile took over 250 million years to fight. finally reach Earth. In the meantime, the dinosaurs waged a savage battle for survival. As the asteroid made a beeline,